30. Not 10. Bum. Welcome to Misano, to the World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, 4.226 kilometers, 16 turns. It's tight, it's twisty, fast in places, and we're all set for the final two races of the Asian Super Trofeo Series, leading to the World Finals on Saturday and Sunday. The weather is fine, it's 14 degrees, track temperature will be rising, it's 20 degrees. I'm joined by former Lamborghini Super Trofeo racer Jack Bartholomew in the booth, and we've got 50 minutes of racing coming up ahead of us. It's a tight circuit, but let's go and feel the atmosphere down on the grid, because Dakota is kicking in with the interviews.
I am exactly on a beautiful Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia grid. Now, this is one of two races that will be happening this weekend to round off the championship in Asia. I'm down here with Charles Leong, already a champion in Super Trofeo Asia Pro category, as well with his teammate Alex Denon. Guys, this is the worst qualifying you've had all year, but you've already won the championship, so what are your thoughts? Do you care?
For sure, we still care, because we're also preparing for the World Final, so it's more of a learning lesson for us from Asia to Europe, because the weather and everything is quite different, track is different. So for us, it's more understanding of the overall, and then we put together for the World Final.
Obviously, being part of the Young Drivers program, how has that helped you increase along the way of this Lamborghini journey?
I think it's more as a package, as a driver, because it's just not about driving, also about off-track interaction and also just basic knowledge and theory. So it's a lot of things together, so it's a very special program.
Thank you very much, Charles. Let's just have one quick word with Alex. Alex, it's very quick. Are you ready to rock?
Absolutely. How are you this morning on this beautiful Italian Misano circuit? I'm really looking forward to the race. They say that the pressure's off as soon as you win the championship, but it's the same. We'll be going for the win. We didn't really have the qualifying that we wanted yesterday, but yeah, it's not too bad of a starting position here on the second row.
But Alex, the sun's really low and you don't have a visor, so this could be a problem, right?
You're always trying to catch me out in these ones. This peak does just the job, Dakota Jane. And yeah, the only thing I'll have to worry about is my mirrors when the two guys are behind me.
Oh, very confident. Good luck, Alex. Thank you very much. Back to you in the commentary booth.
Thank you very much, and that's Alex Denning and first Charles Leong. They've got the title already in the bag. 141 points they'd earned before they got here. They didn't get the bonus point for pole position of the first of the two races for the Asian Series, but Zikong Lee, second in the championship, he's quite a way back, and he is not where he wants to be to try and at least close in. But let's go down, because Jacob Regal is in the hands now of Dakota.
Very quickly, Jacob, obviously returning back with Ethan. Ethan's fighting for the championship. You guys had great success in Shanghai, so are you ready to get back in that partnership and have success, more success here in order for Ethan to boost up his championship?
Of course, I think that's my job here. So it's first of all fun to be back on the racetrack, especially with this field, and in Italy. So it can't be better right now, and I think we have the perfect conditions to race here, starting P4. So it's all in our hands, and then we see where we end.
Have you been giving Ethan any tips about the circuit? Because obviously coming over from Europe, you have a little bit more of an advantage than Ethan does.
I think the track in itself is a bit different to the Asian ones, but he suits here pretty good, and we came to speed pretty fast. So we're on a good level to race, and we're doing a good job. Now
the whistle has been blown, so we're going to start to head off the grid now, and let's see how they go.
Thanks very much, Dakota. And yes, suddenly you realise the racing is almost upon us. This is the first of two 50-minute races. Now look, sunny, yes. 14 degrees, quite cool, but picking up, and it will get warmer, up to about 18 today, and track temperature will certainly continue to rise from 19 degrees. And Jack, from your experience, a circuit like this is still fairly early in the morning. Yeah. It will change. We've got 50 minutes to keep those tyres sweet. That is the real crux.
Yeah, firstly, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bruce. Lovely to be back in the commentary booth after a year. Seems to have absolutely flown by. Yeah, I think the Asian drivers will definitely... There's a lot of learning to do because obviously they're used to a lot more humidity and heat. So to generate that heat in the tyres and brakes is crucial early on, but also the tyres should last a little bit better for them. So, you know, it's kind of swings and roundabouts. They should find that they can actually push the car quite hard throughout the whole race and have less tyre degradation. But, you know, as Charles said at the start, they're really looking to develop their knowledge ready for the World Finals.
Yeah, it's definitely a factor. They're used to saving their tyres because famously they fall off a cliff with 5 laps to go and you're a sitting duck if you haven't kept the tyre sweet. But there we had the graphics showing we got 4 different classes: Pro, Pro-Am, Am and Lamborghini Cup. Already 2 of those titles have been sorted. That's Pro and the Lamborghini Cup. But the field is going around, packed field of cars, and let's just reiterate, they've got this race today, and tomorrow's race will be the final race of the Asian Series, likewise in the North American and European Series, and then the cars will go into the World Finals on Saturday and Sunday. They will have had a lot of track time here, but for a lot of the drivers, and very much the Asian drivers in particular, learning to race and use their tyres efficiently or get the most out of them, more to the point, on a cool circuit. Let's take a look at the grid. 17-year-old Nicola Stati did the last 2 races, and this is his 3rd outing, and he's put it on pole by 1/4 of a second, alongside Jonathan Cecotto, who knows everything you need to know about Super Trofeo Lamborghinis. Alex Denning, we heard from him, 3rd on the grid, and Ethan Brown, another driver in that battle for 2nd place. 3 crews very close indeed. Liang Jiatong and Nazim Asman form row number 3 of the grid. Going on to row 4, we've got Todd Kingsford in 7th place for Vincenzo Suspirius Racing, and Kang Ling alongside Hudson Auto by LKM Motorsport crew. Then we go to the 5th row, and it's Kai Shun Lu and Jikong Li. Jikong a little far back. He's 2nd in the Pro Championship, so it hasn't gone his way yet, but we know he's got pace. He's a driver who's competed in Formula 3 in the past, so he's got a lot. And the 2 Zairolo brothers, it's Hari who'll be starting. Umar Abdullah, driver from Indonesia, will start alongside from 12th position on the grid. Zhu Bizhuang starts 13th, and Song Jiajun will start alongside another driver for Lippert Motorsport, one of the regular teams in the championship. Climax Racing, entry lot of cars, and Dongsheng Lui will be starting with Brian Huang alongside him. Then Sutiluk Buncharoen and Superchai Wiraborn Wanpong, so the 2 longest names on the grid alongside each other on row number 9, both from Thailand. And we've got a car that just pulled off in the background. I'll complete the grid. We'll just go on down. So Chi Min Ma and Eng Peng Go and Kumar Prabhakran pull up the grid. But which car is that? It was about halfway down the field. Yes, it's a Pro car because it's got the orange flash. Green flash.
Number 28, I think. Yeah. No, 211.
211. Well, that will make it Jonathan Cecotto from the outside of the front row. 2nd position. That is a disaster for him because he and his teammate Gavin Huang are 5th and 3rd in the championship respectively, so they certainly could have improved their overall positions. So onto a 2nd formation lap, and if he can get that car started, he'll be able to tack on to the back of the line. But instead of starting 2nd on the grid, that would put him down about 20-something, so a real setback. Jonathan Cecotto, as I said beforehand, he knows everything you need to know about these cars. He's one of the drivers who could regain ground, but that's step up for every other driver in the field. Looking there at car number 227, that was Ethan Brown's car. We heard from his teammate Jacob Riegel, who was standing alongside. He'll be doing the 2nd part of the race, but Ethan very much in the mix for 2nd place in the championship. 3 crews very, very close indeed. But for Gavin Huang, his is the car that's pulled to the side, so that maybe has already put a line through him. And as the field works its way through turn 8, this is the hairpin, the middle part of the lap. He will be fuming, waiting, hoping to see if his car can get going. But at the moment, unfortunately, 211 is going nowhere fast. It pulled off just before the final corner, just before the tight turn 16. Actually, I want to talk about turn 16. When the field comes around at the end of this lap, they should be in 2x2 formation. And turn 16 is a left-hander on the start-finish straight. You can't see the start-finish straight until you get upon it, and you have to be really, really clever. and not jump the start. Right, this is the view from Nicola Statti's windscreen. As I said, the driver from Western Australia, only 17 years old. It bears repeating. Done an astonishing job. No doubt this is his first outing at Misano. Only his second meeting as a Lamborghini Super Trofeo driver. So that is quite something. And this is Ling Kang, car number 266. Get used to him. Of course, at the moment he's looking quite relaxed, but any moment now, suddenly everything's going to tighten up a little bit. 50 minutes of racing, mandatory pit stop around the middle part of the race. You can choose your moment once the pit window opens, but that seems some way off for now.
Yeah, I believe they've done an extra formation lap. Whether that's been agreed that they're going to do 2 this weekend or because of Johnny Giacotto being pulled, he is actually right on the sort of racing line, so it's not ideal, you know, in terms of getting the race started. It's quite a dangerous position to be.
Yeah, it certainly is, and the fact it's still there hasn't been moved, so up to the crews there will be waiting, but it looks like our race starter has got his finger, or his thumb more to the point, on the button. He's waiting for the cars to come out of turn 16, and he can't see them. He can't see them, and any moment now the first of them will come round that final corner onto the start-finish straight, and then the car should be in that 2x2 formation. 50 minutes of racing, a mandatory pit stop. This will get the World Finals underway, or the World Final meeting, of course. Today and tomorrow they're sorting the final races, the final 2 races of each of the championships, the Asian, the European and North American. So this is the Asian, round they come. The 5 red lights are on the grid. You can see that on the starting board. Waiting. The car that should be starting second nearest the pit wall is not there. That's the one that hasn't been able to get away, and it looks as though, well, Alex Denning, green on the Irish flag, green underneath his tyres. The Irishman puts it from third up into fourth. The challenge often happens into turns 1, 2 and 3. They come together, but at the exit, Denning actually has been deposed from the lead, but you can be fairly sure the one that went across the grass, it looked as will be having to hand it back, and it does very neatly indeed. That was a 227 making that move. That was Ethan Brown trying to see what he can do, but you know what, I think we've got all the cars through the first few corners, but certainly that start from Alex Denning could not have been more full of intent. Onto the grass, a little bit of hesitation from pole position from young Nick Statti. Oh, there was a little bit of a clash. I spoke too soon. 251 and 299 coming to contact. That's Brian Huang and, which was that car, 299. That would make it Birang Zhu. Oh, so unfortunate, but it's such a tricky. Once you got it sorted through turns 1, 2 and 3, you come across turn 4 and 5, and over the decades I've been watching racing at Misano, you seldom get the whole field through. But importantly for the champion already, but he said, we come here to win. And that's exactly what Alex Denning is setting out to do in the SJM Theodore racing car at the head of the field, being chased and chased hard by young Singaporean Ethan Brown.
Yeah, you could tell the way Denning was talking on the grid. He was certainly up for a good start, and he was, already talking about people being in his mirrors. So he's, it's easy to talk with confidence as a driver, but it's another thing actually backing it up, which he's done.
Well, he did, and of course, when he was sitting on the grid, the first corner is so close to you there. It looks so in third place. Just double checking. We've got one of the VSR cars, I think, up into the, well, let's have confirmation. The end of the opening lap, a lead of over a second, I would suggest, for Alex Denning, Ethan Brown, 1.5 seconds down. Kang Ling and Nick Statti, the 17-year-old old Pole, didn't make the best of start. He will put that down to experience, and let's see how he can go in car number 277. So look out for him. And in behind, everyone else is now going, OK, right, we're 9 astern. Where do you pick your moments around this circuit? And you do have to wait. You do have to be a little bit patient, because it's very twisty for the first 5 corners. Then it opens up a bit. Then you've got the turn 8 hairpin. But once you get out of turn 10, you go into that very long kink straight down to the sort of final sequence of corners. And that potentially is a point you can get a toe. But no one can get a toe from Alex Denning. He is off into the wild blue yonder.
Yeah, Misano's quite a tricky track to race around. There's not that many overtaking opportunities. There's a lot of corner sequences that make it quite hard to follow closely. You're kind of quite often relying on people making a mistake, or even forcing someone into a mistake to allow you to get past.
Yeah, so I think in these early laps we're seeing just people settling down. They've gone through the sort of sorting out of the first couple of corners, and for some who've lost ground, they'll be trying to make it back. Nick Statti has actually gained a position. He's gone up into third place. He was the driver on pole who went from first down to fourth. Certainly wasn't expecting a driver coming past him on the grass as Alex Denning did. Everyone else going through. But let's just go through the class positions. In the Pro-Am class, it's Kang Ling leading. He's in fourth place overall. Leading the Am class, it's Umar Abdullah. And leading Lamborghini Cup, it's Eng Peng Go. But the first three, well, the gaps are starting to stretch out. It's been a very, very positive start. Down to the first corner we ride. This is on board with the Pro-Am class leader, 4th overall, Kang Ling. You can see the cars in 2nd and 3rd up in front of him, and he's starting to struggle to see Alex Denning, because Alex has gained another 1.4 seconds on that lap. And I was talking to the SGM Theodore team last night. They were talking about preserving your tyres. You might suggest, is he doing that? Is he running away with it? But he'll be revelling in the fact he knows the tyres will last much more generously here in these cooler conditions than he's accustomed to out on the Asian circuits. Imagine being at places like Sepang, Shanghai circuit. You know, they really do stew your tyres.
Yeah, the circuits with the high humidity and that high ambient temperature really just put so much more stress through the tyres and everything. You know, even the driver, you make a lot more mistakes, you know, when your body temperature's running that much hotter. So, you know, these are sort of, I'd actually say ideal sort of conditions. It's not too hot, but it's not too cold. Alex, being Irish, is going to be used to driving in cold, wet weather, you know, so it's no problem for him. They say luck of the Irish, but I say you make your own luck. And he has grabbed the race by the scruff of the neck, and you know, he's built a lovely gap, and now he can manage the tyres. Now he's got a gap.
Exactly so, and thanks to Dakota, who's just let us know we think it was a broken drive shaft for Johnny Chicotto down there. How cruel. Starting 2nd on the grid against a driver who's only just joined the championship. He must have thought, I can get into the first corner first and then see what we can do from there. But alas, not to be. Now, with another lap on the board, and I don't think the lead has gone out by as much as the previous time around, just waiting for the gap to Ethan Brown. Well, I tell you what, actually it has. He's gained another 1.3 seconds, so 4.1 seconds clear. You can almost imagine the team starting to put a board out saying, hold station. You're not being chased, because actually we're starting to see a battle for 2nd place, because Ethan Brown has got Nick Stati right on his tail, and he'll be frustrated, Stati. He must have thought, fantastic, I've beaten all the experienced guys, I've got pole. He's just got to put that behind him. It didn't go to plan, but now he's picked off one driver already. Here is the race leader, Alex Denning. No surprise, fastest lap of the race for him already. 1 minute 34.9, that will come down, because the best times in qualifying, well, that's 2/3 of a second down, but actually what we saw from cars on track this morning from the European series, they were lapping the 1 minute 33s. 2 minutes would be quite disappointing, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So now we're riding on board the car in 3rd place. Great onboard shot. This is coming out of turn 10. They're going down what effectively is the main straight. It's a couple of kinks to the right-hand side. You see the first those. Here we are, turn 11, turning in. What's the driver doing at this point?
So he'll just be trying to work out where Ethan is showing any weaknesses. Like I say, it's hard to pass on this track, especially in the last sector. So he'll just be eyeing up any mistakes, any places he's better on the brakes. Where can he try and focus on getting a better exit to get a run into the next corner? He's got to just stay calm, because obviously he knows it all the while he's stuck behind, he's losing time to Alex Denning, but he doesn't want to overdrive and actually start to cook his own tyres, you know, being right up the gearbox of the car in front. So he just needs to bide his time, try and get past where he can, and then get his head down. Yeah,
and also Ethan Brown knows that if he has a good result in this, he may move himself up to 2nd place in the championship. Already Alex Denning and his teammate have had that under control, but actually the control is not necessarily his, because what we saw down the long kink straight was the driver in the blue car in the background got closer and closer. That's Nick Stati. These guys, you have to understand, are super young. They're very, very short in terms of racing experience, but this is where they're learning it. They're building steps to the future, but the gaps between them, they yo you up and down a bit. But what we're seeing at the moment is Nick Stati is the quicker of those two drivers at this point. Maybe he's going too hard too soon on his tyres, maybe he's learning as he goes, but he's certainly looking and probing, and it's making it very tricky indeed for Ethan. But Ethan, in his own way, in 227, will be learning every single lap. Of course, this circuit will be new to him, as it is to Nick Stati and a lot of the drivers here. Not the Italians, of course, but right here and now, it's where do you make your move.
Yeah, you can see he's starting to get a bit frustrated being behind. You can see he's showing his nose, trying to put the pressure on, try and force a mistake. Oh, we might have one. Not quite. But that's exactly it. If you stay close, flash your lights, you're big in the mirrors, then the car in front starts looking in the mirrors, you're then not driving forward. When you start looking in the mirrors, that's when a mistake comes. So, you know, Ethan Brown needs to just focus on going forward. If he does get past, get on Nick Stati's tail and try and follow. because he might be doing something driving-wise differently that is allowing him to go that much faster.
Yeah, we saw an incident on the opening lap. Brian Huang has been pinged, given a 10-second penalty for spinning around 299. Remember, we saw Zhu Bizhuang facing the wrong way. These things happen, but the penalties is good within a race when they're applied during the race. It's always frustrating when you get drivers maybe on the podium, they have to get taken back down, or they have the ceremony, but someone else who officially then got declared on the podium isn't there. But right now, that wasn't something affecting the overall podium. Of course, these were in the classes further back. Again, just point out we've got Pro-Am, Am and Lamborghini Cup, so lots of different podiums will be coming up our way. Right now we're looking on the Pro battles at the front, or more to the point, the Pro battle in second place, and I think the term no change is one we can issue at the moment. We saw that mistake last time around at turn 12 at very much this point on the circuit. Sorry, that's turn 10. Turn 12 we saw Ethan Brown running wide over the red and white painting on the outside of the circuit. Here's our race leader, Alex Denning. We'd almost forgotten him. He's so far clear. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's 6.3 seconds clear. And with every lap that this duo is fighting for second place, he's getting away. Now, the little battle behind is shaping up quite nicely. And I would sense they're almost, let's have a look, they're lapping very much the same place as second and third. It's not surprising. 266 is Kang Ling, and Jietian Liang is tucked in behind. So likewise, they're accustomed to racing at Shanghai and Sepang, but this is Misano. It's a different prospect, but certainly it looks as though 263 Jietian Liang is again the quicker driver, but where will he make his move? Turn 1, you don't want to be doing that other than on the opening lap. And actually, I tell you what, I was almost wondering if some of the drivers, including Ethan Brown, might have picked up a problem for running wide, a penalty. They haven't. But let's go down the pit lane with Dakota and Brian Lee.
Brian, obviously you're going to get ready to get in the car in a minute. You're currently running P2 in class, 5th overall on the track. It's a really important race for you, 2nd in the championship. Are you nervous? Are you feeling the pressure?
Yeah, actually, I moved to the front class this year, so I got a lot of pressure to us because I have to compete with the pro guys. So, but this circuit is quite challenging as well, but I will do my best.
Being one of the few Koreans on the grid, how proud are you to represent Korea in such a big national championship like this?
Yeah, actually, normal Korean people didn't participate in this kind of international race so far, but yeah, I'm very proud of as president of Korean guys. So Korean guys are also very strong. So look at the Korean guys and cheering to us. I
also read that you were a bus driver in the Korean military, and now you're driving Super Trofeo on track. What an exciting journey to go through that to racing a Super Trofeo.
Sorry, say again.
I said you used to be a bus driver for the Korean military, and now driving on track.
Yeah.
What's that experience been like coming to Super Trofeo?
Yeah, actually, I like the driving. Yeah, so that's why I drove a lot of car before. So even bus and also the other some trailer as well. So, but racing is a really, it's very quite fantastic experience, something. Yeah, so I like this kind of a racing driving something. Yeah, so I'm very proud of it.
Good luck for the rest of the race. Hope it goes well. Thank you.
Well, they say that Brian's bus was never late, and here he is now. So an interesting aside. Well done to Dakota for digging deep. Right, the battle for second place rages on, but in over 8 seconds in the rear. Right, let's have a look. Okay, 2 cars gaining advantage. I did wonder, I just mentioned it, and one of them is the driver in second place, Ethan Brown. It was the opening corner of the race, turn 1. If you shortcut it, you come back, go turn 1, turn 3. You didn't do turn 2, so a 5-second penalty. At the moment, that will put Ethan Brown from second down to 5th overall. So the message, what would you do? You're a team manager. Do you give that message to your driver, or do you just let him carry on?
It's a hard one because you can clearly see right now he's struggling a little bit on pace. He's obviously trying to defend, so if you tell him he's got a penalty, you don't want his head to go down and then he makes more mistakes and loses more pace. I would maybe leave it, let him do his thing, encourage him to keep pushing on, and maybe let them know later in the race. Realistically, there's nothing he can do right now that's going to make any changes. If it was the last stint, you might say, look, push. If you can pull out half a second, you're not going to drop a place. But right now, telling him isn't actually going to gain anything. So I would just be encouraging him to go quicker.
Yeah, the other driver who's picked up a penalty is the driver in 4th place. It's Kang Ling, so he's the one leading Pro-Am. Now, let's just explain. The points in Super Trofeo are according to your class. So we've got 3 pro crews at the front, then we've got 2 pro-ams, then we've got 2 more pros. So you have to sort of filter back down. The points, by the way, are allocated 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 5, 3, 2, 1. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 even, with 1 for pole. So it's not disastrous for all of them, but to lose track space as well. And also, this weekend is all about going through this, the penultimate race at the final round of each of the championships, and then off the springboard into Saturday and Sunday for the World Finals. So it's about carrying your momentum as well. Right, now what we're seeing, Ethan Brown, the red and white car, he's got that 5-second penalty, as has the driver of the white car there in 4th overall. That's for going wide on the opening lap. We've got a back marker. They're about to come across the tail of, well, be Kumar Prabhakaran, car number 233. He's running in the Lamborghini Cup class, and very tight for 4th and 5th. But here's Prabhakaran, and then the lights flashing, the red and white car. Ethan Brown, Nick Stati right under his wing, then Kang Ling and Jietong Liang tucked him behind, 4th and 5th. Haven't really talked about Umar Azman doing a very nice job running in 6th place overall. The field springs out a little bit behind them, back to Todd Kingsford in 9th place, Umar Abdullah in 10th. And this is the one running car number 203, Pro-Am points leader, but he hasn't had the best of races so far. But with the penalty for one of the rivals in class ahead of him, that should gain him a point. But starting outside the top 10 wasn't the dream answer for Kai Shun Liu. But right now he's settling in very nicely. Gaggle of cars going into the first corner. That's including Kumar Prabhakaran, who will hopefully keep out of the way. But actually, turns 1, 2 and 3, it's very hard to keep out of the way because they're so tight, and the drivers will have to just pray they come across the car they're about to lap with a little bit of space, a little bit of a point at which they don't lose momentum. More to the issue.
Yeah, when it comes to catching back markers, it's really luck of the draw where you catch them on circuit. You just hope, as the faster driver, that they just stick to their line. If they stay on the racing line and carry on, then, you know, as the faster driver, you can make your way past.
More penalties coming. I just sang the praises of Umar Azman, but I'm clearly more of a fan of his than the race officials, because they've given him a 5-second penalty for a constant, well, over-exuberant abuse of the track limits. Right, still all eyes drawn on this battle. Ethan Brown, Nick Stati, the 2 young Chargers, they're 2nd overall. And again, you'd expect the faster speed to come to the chasing car, gaining a little bit of a toe down to turns 11, 12 and 13. It all tightens up, running wide, and that's a corner they'll be getting pinged for if you get all 4 wheels out beyond the white lines, marking the edge of the circuit. And so far, as they begin to lap the back markers, there's been no change in the 2nd and 3rd positions. 4th and 5th, it's still Denning from Brown, from Stati, from Kang Ling and Lietong Jiang. Beautiful high shot from the drone looking down over the 16th final corner. The very smart, this end of the pit lane. Look at that fabulous smart building. Drivers don't care about the state of the building. They care about what state their tyres will be when they come in for a driver change. Chris van der Drift waiting to take over from 298. That would be Todd Kingsford. And yeah, Kingsford in 9th position overall.
Just looking from that onboard shot of Nick Stati, you can see he started to, there's a bit of a bigger gap to Ethan Brown, so whether that's, it looked like his tyres are starting to go off because he had a bit of oversteer at turn 8, sorry, which turn are we talking? No, turn 10 onto the back straight, a little bit of oversteer mid-corner, so maybe his tyres are starting to go away, but it could also be tactical that he's leaving a bit of a gap to try and get a run, because when you sit too closely, you know, you can actually generate a bit of understeer, you're in the dirty air of the car in front, and then you can't get the run you need. So by dropping back, you can kind of catch them on the charge, if you like.
Yeah, now one thing we've also noticed in that, and also Nick Stati, it's worth pointing out, is driving solo. So his pit stop will be 3 seconds longer, which will hurt like mad, but at least when he goes out, he knows the state of those tyres from the moment he leaves the pit exit. In fact, when you leave the pit exit, you rejoin after turn 3, just by the by. Now, we haven't really talked about the driver who's done the best job all race, which is Alex Denning, young Irish driver. Brilliant start, took to the grass, tarmac grass, who cares, led into the first corner, and he built the lead out to 8 and a bit seconds, and it stayed there. So he's probably being very kind to Charles Leon, going, you know what, I'm going to let you have some tyre life when you do the second part of this race. So Zhao Jun Song into the pits, out of the car, Brendan Leach, Kiwi racer, on board Liput Motorsport car, and he's one of the drivers doing double duty this weekend. And there's Gia Jun out of the car. because he'll be racing in the European Series Super Trofeo finals as well. But job nicely and neatly done, and always with a driver like Brendan Leach, your teammate, you'll give him maximum time in the car. But nice job from Song there.
Yeah, Brendan Leach is one of the fastest guys and most experienced guys in Super Trofeo, so, you know, always good to see him in the car, especially jumping in a Pro-Am, you know, handed the car a little bit down the field. Be interesting to see how he can make up some time.
And another super experienced driver is Chris van der Drift. I'm sure he really likes Todd Kingsford, but he rather dragged him out of the car like a sort of a sack of potatoes. But it doesn't matter. Who cares about dignity? It's about getting in, getting strapped in. Oh, right, let's talk about pit stops. 105 seconds is the mandatory time. That's from pit in to pit out. So there is time for a driver change to be done cleanly and effectively. And for drivers going solo, they get 3 seconds longer. They have to be at a standstill, or the gap between pit in and pit out. Anyone transgressing, and as a team manager, you'd want to sort of effectively get the gun out, is when you undercut, when your drivers go too soon. But admit, it's down to the team to control the driver, the lollipop board. But when you're under a second down, you have to come back in, 1 second at a standstill and off again. When you get beyond that, the penalties become a great deal, a huge amount of difference. I did put it down in my notes. I think if you're more than a second over, you get something like 20 seconds extra. However, just don't do it. It ruins all the hard work you do.
Yeah, in a sprint race like this, if you get a stop-go penalty, your day's over, to be honest. You know, there's plenty of time if you're well drilled at the driver change. There's no need to rush. You have time to breathe, get everything in properly. Most of the cars will have GPS Delta to know the pit in and pit out time. It's all done via GPS and you know, measuring the length of the pit lane versus the speed. So you can be a bit tactical and leave your box a bit early if you have a chance to jump if you're close to people. But you've got to be careful. If you end up lifting or braking down the pit lane and messing anyone else up, you can get a penalty. So you've got to be very clever how you play it.
Yes, if anyone's watching, and I hope people are watching all around the world, these fantastic Super Trofeo races, there's more to the story than just about being quick on the track. There's more to the story just about keeping your tyres sweet. It's keeping the focus, keeping out of trouble, staying within the white lines, and then there's the whole array of things that can go wrong during the pit stops. But by having this generous minimum time, I'm hearing, even though the pit lane's not too busy, 217 blocked 227. Or more to the point, that's Ethan Brown's car is 227. They won't want to be blocked. They're the ones that have already got a 5-second penalty, and that was Eng Peng Go.
See,
board.
There we go. Like they managed. Obviously lost some time because there's been a swap. Looks like Nick Statty's managed to jump them just on the way out the pits.
So again, all small elements. Sometimes the bit on the track seems the simple part, getting those pit stops bang on. But with the lead of 8 and a bit seconds, Alex Denning can afford to come in. They can, again, this minimum pit stop time should mean that they've got plenty of time to get the driver changed, but the pressure is off them. What did Alex say before the race? Or was it Charles Leong? I can't remember his teammate. Obviously, we've got the championship in the bag, but we're here to get sharp. It's the World Finals weekend. If they can add more wins, they've already got 6 across the first races in the championship, the first rounds. We've had, just going back through the history of the season, started at Sydney Motorsport Park in April, then Shanghai, Fuji, Inji in South Korea, Sepang, and here we're at rounds 11 and 12 at Misano. So yes, you might go, hold on, it's an Asian series, what's it racing in Europe? Likewise, why is the North American series coming in? This is where the World Finals are held, and they'll move around year on year. And I was having a conversation last night, drawing up some wish lists for future World Finals, and I'd be really keen to see one in the States. I think someone like Road Atlanta would suit these cars down to the ground, but we will see. It's moved around, it's been here before, but again, the drivers focus on where they are, and obviously Lamborghini's racing at home in Italy always has a certain draw, and already there's a great feeling in the paddock here at Misano.
Yeah, certainly. It's a fantastic venue, especially this time of year. You've got to obviously pick your places where you can go in November, where you're going to hopefully get some sunshine. I believe the last World Finals in America was 2015 at Sebring, and I think it was Sepang in 2014. So it's kind of, in the last sort of 10, 11 years, always been in Europe. So it would be quite cool. I definitely fancy a trip over to Asia or America to work at some of the fantastic tracks over there.
Yeah, so there's a world of racing to be had, and for SGM Theodore Racing, well, driver out, that's Alex Denning, and he's now leaning in to just make sure all is right with the belts for Charles Leong. But Alex did a stormingly good job there, and you know, the speed they have, it's about being a pair as well, isn't it? You know, and the starting driver being kind enough to leave some life in the tyres, and that's very much what Alex did. He made that amazing break at the start of the race, and then just controlled it from there. So the rubber should be sweet. And another driver changer happening further back. Emilion Kade taking over from Nazim Azman. And again, it's just the international flavour you have. Such a cosmopolitan field of drivers, particularly in the Asian series, I must say. Yeah, don't worry if you're looking at Theodore Racing, it's not broken down or anything. They're just simply waiting for the lollipop to go up. There it goes. And Charles Leong heading out to see if he can add to 2 wins in Sydney Motorsport Park, 1 win in Shanghai, 1 win in Fuji, 1 win in Inji, 1 in Sepang. Here we are at Misano. Might as well try and get a set, at least 1 win at each of the 6 rounds of the Super Trofeo.
Certainly their season will seem a failure if they don't get a win this weekend.
Lots of shouted instructions down in the pit lane. And number 216, that's entry from DW Evans GT, Emilion Kade at the wheel. Very much a Frenchman, but very much made his career racing in Asia and has done a very, very good job in recent years. A couple of years ago, he was racing in the Le Mans Cup in Europe, but went out to Asia in 2024, finished 4th in the championship when racing with Dan Wells. And the Dan Wells team running the car this weekend. Still some people stopping quite late in the process. There's Kuma Prabhakaran. And again, any drivers who are racing solo, they get an extra 3 seconds at a stop. The blue flash on the windscreen means it's Lamborghini Cup. And that will probably be about the last of the cars in the pits, along with this one, Jiatong Liang, climbing out of car number 263. That's one from the SQDA Grit Motorsport team. And that would be Brian Lee getting on board. We heard from him before. Bus driver during his national service, but very much faster these days now he's in the Super Trofeo, and he would have enjoyed the rounds on home ground at Inji.
Yeah, I must say that Inji looks like an incredible circuit in the mountains of Korea. Just, you know, you kind of don't associate Korea with motorsport, but then you see that venue and it's just, wow, it looks absolutely incredible.
It does, and again, when you know, people now are blessed with the ability to just log onto their computer and watch racing anywhere in the world. But if you haven't heard of a circuit, and I'm a big fan of give a circuit a bit of topography, and if you've got a fabulous backdrop, well, add that one to the mix as well. So always worth taking a look now. And of course, you can, now it's all being streamed, you can watch in daylight hours when you're at home rather than having to be a night owl. Doesn't the pit lane seem long when you're just coming down? This will be one of the final finishes. That's into the pit. When I say finisher, I mean coming in to serve their pit stops. But just waiting for all to be settled. So here it is. It's Nick Stati. He moved into the lead of the race when Alex Denning came in. Of course, he doesn't have to worry. There's a pit window and it opens and it closes. As long as he came in, he would also been told that Ethan Brown, who he was chasing, was getting a 5-second penalty. So effectively, he came in from 2nd place. How much he could have reduced the gap to race leader Alex Denning had he got past Ethan Brown in the first half of the race remains to be seen, but we will see how close or far apart they are. Remember, the gap between 1st and 3rd was about 9 seconds before the pit stop routine kicked in. Alex Denning came in part way through. He's handed over to Charles Leong, and Charles ought to be in the lead of the race when the final pit stops have been completed. Just remember, an extra 3 seconds at a standstill for this driver, young Nick Stati, the Australian. Just settling his helmet on his head. That's quite a useful thing, isn't it? You don't want it moving up, riding around. You'll have had that probably at some point in your junior career, whether karting or otherwise.
Yes, certainly. It's always important your helmet, A, fits correctly and is done up tight, because you don't want it moving around. You need clear vision and comfort when you're driving, you know, an absolute monster machine like these Lamborghini Super Trofeos. With Nick Stati, he's obviously stayed out long, tried to play the tactical game. You know, if he knows what he's got underneath him, he can keep pushing. You know, as the car in front stopped before him, he then had clear track to really try and push and hopefully build that 3-second gap to try and make the jump after the pit stop.
Yeah, but he was having the 3-second gap, and the driver he was chasing was 3 seconds effective
Longer in the
penalty.
pits, yeah.
And the other driver, the driver he was chasing, Ethan Brown's car, was getting the 5-second penalty. So in fact, they're almost in danger of falling back in that very good little battle that had been the Pro-Am battle for 4th and 5th overall. Have to keep an eye on the screen because there have been some penalties. Pit window is now closed. I think everybody has... Well, I tell you what, the pit lane is closed, but it's still busy down there. Let's go down to Dakota. She's got Ethan Brown.
The pit lane is closed, but the interviews are open. I'm down here with Ethan Brown. Ethan, obviously it was a little bit of a mess during your pit stop. I saw that Eng Peng was in front of you, and he was blocking you a little bit. Do you think he was unsure of where his box was?
I'm not too sure what went on, to be honest. I think we'll have to have a look at it again. But it's okay. We got the pit stop done in time, and I think we'll be all good.
I saw that your team adjusted really, really quickly. Now you've got a 5-second penalty, I've just heard, and you're obviously 5th in class on track, so it's not looking good. Do you think there's anything Jacob can do to catch up?
Yeah, Jacob's really quick, so I'm sure he'll get the job done. So we just got to put our heads down and focus to the end.
What did you learn about today? Obviously, there's still one more race tomorrow, so it's not all over yet. And Jonathan didn't have a very good start. Your other competitors are, I think, are 2nd or 3rd on track. So there's still opportunity in there. What have you learned?
I think this track is really hard to overtake on. So getting positions at the start will be really important. So that's what we're aiming for.
Let's see what you can do. Thank you very much, Ethan. Good luck.
Thank you, Dakota. Noisy pit lane, even when the cars have left the pits, because, of course, they're still flying past. But into the lead of the race, it was going to happen as soon as the pit stop scramble had ended. And Charles Leong taking over from Alex Denning. The gap was about 9 seconds before the pit stops. It's just under 13 seconds now, and the car in 2nd place, the driver in 2nd place, Nick Stati. He had the extra 3 seconds in the pit, so that is very, very even indeed. Now, we'll see how they settle down. Nick Stati knows the circuits, knows the state of his tyres, because he was driving solo, whereas the first lap or two for Charles Leong, he was just getting the feel of the circuit, feel of the car, but he knew clearly that Alex Denning wasn't being pushed in the lead of the race, and did seemingly, having rocketed clear of the field, back off a little bit, so you can be fairly sure his tyres are going to be quite sweet to take it through to the end of the race. What's left? 16.5 minutes, so comfortable run, I'd think. And what Charles needs to do is stay between the white lines. We just saw him going very wide out of turn 15, but just enough to be legal. Now he goes past the pits up to turn 1, looks in his mirrors, the driver behind is a lap down, doesn't have to worry. The team will be telling him whether his gap is going to open or start to come down. Nick Stati will be giving chase. I tell you what, I just mentioned Alex Denning. Let's get some words. He's down with Dakota in the pits.
Alex, flying on track. That was a mega start from you. I mean, the green, the tarmac, you used all of it. How are you feeling after that stint?
Yeah, I was planning in my head before the start of the race that I was going to be leading that race come the end of the first lap. And I was trying to weigh up, to go through the middle, well, you might get squeezed, or do I go to the right side and I might get squeezed to the grass, which also turned out to be true. I went for the right. My good friend Max Hard reminded me that Lamborghinis once produced tractors, and that's what they're famous for. I tested out that functionality and it definitely still works.
Oh, that's good to know, isn't it? That obviously going from tractors to Super Trofeo car is still a fluid movement for Lamborghini. Right, let's get back to the race. You're in first now, but the guys behind you are catching up quickly. What are the track conditions like, and do you think they'll be able to pass you, catch up to you? What's the probability there?
Yeah, it's a nice enough track in that you can still push and extract the lap time out of the car whilst managing the tyres. And to be honest, as soon as I got my time to 34.8, which was still kind of only at 90%, I went into management mode without sacrificing too much lap time. We built up an 8.5 second buffer, so I've given it over to Charles. Charles has been just as quick as me all weekend, so I'm sure he'll be able to take it home.
That sounded like a disappointment there. Anyway, good luck. Thank you very much, Alex.
And to all my listeners back home and all my wonderful sponsors, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll be able to take home the victory.
Thanks, Alex.
Wow, Alex is quite a pro there. I can almost imagine here the delivery truck of a Lamborghini tractor being dropped off at the Denning household in Ireland for his very historical comments there. Good to see. Nice bit of humour. Beautifully done. Right. 13 seconds is the gap between first and second between Charles Leong. Look at him now. Car 232 and Nick Stati. Nick, though, has only got a small margin over Jacob Riegel. We heard from the German racer beforehand. He's sharing with Ethan Brown, and he's starting to close in. I don't think there's a point of panic yet, but he gained a 10th or 2 last time around, so there may have been traffic, but Nick Stati isn't just chasing after the race leader. His more immediate battle is what's coming from behind, and Jacob Riegel is certainly beginning to close in. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at the pro standings. Already the championship was in the bag before today for Alex Denning and Charles Leong, but there we have. You have to have, going into the final race, you need a 16-point margin. It'd be 15 points to play for victory and 1 point for potential pole. But, you know, look at those maths. They're so far clear, 38 points clear. They do not have to worry. Job done. But they like another win. They like a win, as we were talking about, Jack. One at each round is a very nice thing to have, but if they can come away with a double here, and then of course they'll start focusing on the final. They already knew the championship was in the bag before they left Sepang, but here, well, they're putting on a masterclass.
Yeah, certainly, and it's one of those things as a racing driver, you want it, even if you've won the championship, even if you won it twice over, you still want to win. You want to win every race, you want to get fastest lap. You never get bored of that feeling. You want to be the best. You want to be faster. Even if you win the race and lead every lap, where could I have gone faster? How could I have won the race by more? You know, there's nothing quite like winning by a massive margin and really sticking it to your competitors.
No, absolutely so. Now, I mentioned Chris van der Drift. He's giving chase. This is the battle for Pro-Am honours. Changwoo Lee, car 263, but the white car from the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing entry. Todd Kingsford started it, but the Flying Kiwi is right in behind. Flying he is. He's really starting to put Changwoo Lee, making him go wider and wider. And you feel this is a nut that will be cracked. But certainly when you got the experience of Chris van der Drift, you're not going to just leap at it. You're going to wait, find your moment. And then, and only then, would you start to make a dive.
Yeah, it's one of those when at a circuit. Oh, it looks like he's making the move. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Job done. It's one of those, at a circuit like this where it's hard to pass, you want to be big in the mirrors and put pressure on your opponent, but you don't want to show all your cards. You've got to be a little bit careful. If you show your nose too often, they know where you're maybe going to make the pass.
Right, and the interesting thing there is Changwoo Lee, you can see he's running second on points. He's only 5 points down on the championship leaders in Pro-Am. So, yes, he can shed a point there, but he just didn't want to end up going off the circuit. He's going to score better than his class rivals, and that means going to tomorrow's race, they could almost be at parity. So the important thing, just be sensible. Wear your hat, not of the race, but your hat of the season, which is what he was thinking about.
Yeah, realistically, if you have a crash and then you don't finish, you get no points. If you let someone who's much quicker through safely and you finish and get points, then, you know, you're still in the fight going into tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely what's required. So in the AM class, here it is the field. It's very close. And Deepo Fitramadan is just ahead of Donghui Li. We're talking fractions of a second. Then the rest they don't have to worry about because they are somewhat further back. So they're going to be class honours going to either of those cars. But the big question is which one is it going to be? And certainly Indonesia and Reso Deepo Fitramadan is hanging on for now. But he's certainly learning his craft, learning his game. And doing what is required. But that one, I feel, will run to the flag. We've got just over 10 minutes remaining. In the standing, so Sutiluk Buncharo is not clear. Well, he's clear, but he's not home and hosed. He's got a 12-point margin. Remember, I said this is how they would score if they finish as they are at this point, if we suddenly had a flag thrown to end the race. But going into tomorrow's race, Sutiluk needs a 16-point margin. And let's go down to the pits again because Dakota is working like mad.
Alex, obviously first on Pro-Am at the moment. Brian's in the car. You had a great first stint. Are you happy with that stint?
Yes, actually, that's. I think we had a very good stint in the first part of the race. So I'm looking forward what Brian can do in the second part of the stint.
I was saying to Brian before he got in the car that this race is really important for your championship. You're third in the championship. Brian's second in the championship. But I think that judging by where Cal is today, if you win today, by my calculation, you still have a chance to win the championship in Pro-Am. That's going to be mega, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's very important for the 263 the squad. So I believe that Brian will handle the car well, and hopefully we can cross the checker flag in the P1 in the Pro-Am. So
this must be the coldest race as well you've had all year. How are you managing with the cold temperatures?
I think the tire temperature is a bit difficult to manage. So I believe the first few laps, every driver struggle a lot, but it's also bring the very positive side that we have a less degradation, which Brian now can push even harder.
That's Alex with Brian Lee, who's running in Pro-Am first. Let's see what they can do.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Now, who's getting the latest penalty? Short pit stop for car 227. That's Jacob Riegel's car. That's the one that he's sharing with Ethan Brown. Oh dear, so that'll be added to the 5 seconds. Remember, he was getting right onto the tail of Nick Stati. In fact, the last couple of laps, Nick Stati has pulled clear, and then the 2 second penalty will not have helped. So suddenly second place is looking good. Superchai Wirabor Wanpong, here he is, the bright orange car, Siam Gas Corsa. Well, he had this championship, the Lamborghini Cup Championship, in the bag already, but he's having another decent run. Decent run, he's leading the class, and he'll stretch that margin. So there you can see the points very much in his favour. Kuma Prabhakaran, second in class, Eng Peng Go third, and that's how they would be at the end of this race if it just finished now. But we've got 8 minutes remaining, and at the moment, Wirabor Wanpong has things under control. There it is, car 271, Siam Gas Corsa.
Yeah, sounds like he's had a hand on that championship all year.
Well, he has. He's got so much experience in these cars, and he's got his job in hand. He doesn't have to focus on everyone in the race. He has to focus on those in the Lamborghini Cup class, and he's proved very, very handy at that. So Charles Leong leading the race, 10.5 seconds the margin now. That's more than comfortable with 7 and a bit minutes remaining. And it looks as though second place on the track is now settled. That time penalty, the 2 second penalty for Jacob Riegel's car in third overall, certainly hasn't helped. But Charles Leong, there it is, car 232, SJM Theodore Racing. Importantly, picked off a couple of back-marking cars, and now, as he looks out of turn 10, down that kinked run, he can press on. The tyres will be nice at this stage in the race. Certainly racing in the Asian series, you tend to be racing with track temperatures way up in the wild beyond, and your tyres and your tyre management absolutely crucial here. You can push harder, it's cooler, but at this point in the race, with that enormous buffer, 8.5, 9 seconds was the margin before the pit stop started, the mandatory pit stop in this 50-minute race, and since then, metronomic laps from Charles Leong, a driver who's really worked hard on his fitness. And I was being told by the team that he's shed an enormous amount this race of weight this season, north of 10 kilograms, but clearly, you know, it helps your driver fitness, no doubt, but, you know, it shows his dedication to the cause, and the cause is already the championship. It was already in the bag after the first 5 rounds. That's 10 races of 2025 in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia, and just wanted to get another win, and almost within touching distance right now. And as he can look in his mirrors, nobody behind. The gap, well, it's come down by about 2 seconds, but that was him being cautious in traffic, and Nick Stati just pressing on. But Stati in second place doesn't have to worry too much. He's nearly 5 seconds clear of third. So now they can all actually just go to the end of this race without taking any risk.
Yeah, you know, Nick Stati's obviously going to be pushing like crazy, but the likelihood of him catching 8 seconds in the next 5.5 minutes and being able to make a pass is almost, you know, not going to happen. Obviously, you want to be as close as possible if Charles Leong was to have any problems, so you're there to capitalise. But for Charles Leong, it's a case of being sensible, not getting any track limit penalties. But it's easy when you're in the lead like that. You can take your foot off the gas a little bit, and that's when a mistake can creep in. So you have to sort of keep the intensity there and push on, but just leave that little bit on the table that you're not going to make any silly mistakes.
Yeah, just seeing another driver I didn't mention, Emilian Card. We saw him in the pits taking over entry 216 with the DW Evans GT team. We're so busy talking about that, we didn't see the stopwatch undercut the pit time by 0.4 of a second. Oh, the frustration of all of that. Right, certainly race leader Charles Leong has backed off the pace. He's lapping 1 minute 37, almost 1 minute 38. Nick Stati chasing, but, you know, there was a lead that was more than comfortable. 277, here comes Nick Stati. Will it be down to about 7 seconds? No, he had a slower lap. So, well, you can see he's had a couple of cars to pass. 9 seconds down, under 5 minutes remaining. So it's all about pride now. And just also understanding, at this point in the race, how hard can you push the tyres? Because you might be in a real racing situation tomorrow when you're going to need it. Right now, he's safe in second place. He'll still be kicking himself for not making the most of pole position. He was first at the start, fourth by the time they got out of turn 3. Admittedly, Ethan Brown, who moved up into second place, got a 5-second penalty for helping himself to that second place by running wide. But, you know, these are all elements within the race, all elements to be considered.
Yeah, certainly. You know, you generally like to say a race can't be won or lost at the first corner, but I think Alex Denning actually today proved that it can be. He got the track position. Nick Stati got a little bit stuck in third place, and, you know, he kind of got the job done there and then.
Yeah, he really, really did. There was a little bit of a sort out slightly further back in the field, for which one of the drivers picked up a penalty. If it was, I think it was Brian Huang. Yes, car 251, the entry from one of the BC racing cars. Right, Ethan Brown handed over to Jacob Riegel in 227. Here's Jacob. Well, the frustration, have I been seen, have I not? Going down towards the end of the lap. When you go through turn 12, it tightens up at 13. You just want to be sure. Actually, that was 11 down to 12, 13. Now they're in 14, and little kink at 15. Oh dear, 2-8. You know, sometimes when you get past, and that's Deepo Fitramadran, he was running second in class, in the AM class. Come on, please get it back on the black stuff. Young Indonesian be very frustrated there, and you can say his eye was taken off the ball. He let the other car go past, and just, you know, why would he have spun at that point?
I think, especially for the AM drivers, they're obviously, it's not their job, it's their hobby, it's their passion. Some of them are going to be really, really focused on just driving. You know, the sheer amount of focus needed just to drive the laps. You then chuck in a fast young hotshot coming through, it can really throw them off their rhythm, and you know, maybe he then thinks, well, I'm going to try and follow him, and he's just got a little bit keen on the power out of there, and you know, spun it round. These cars do have traction control, but generally if you have it set correctly, it's quite low in the dry, so it will, most situations it will save you and help you, but you know, it's not foolproof. No, it's not a PlayStation game at the end of the day.
No, it isn't. Actually, I was just having a quick look at Deepo's career so far. He 2 years ago, he was doing the Asian Rally Series. Last year, he's racing TCRs, the little silhouette touring cars. So he's moving up the order very quickly. Right, this is Nick Stati. Another
back markers.
Back marker being passed. That was Kumar Prabhakaran. Down he comes. These are really tricky corners. This is turn 11 into 12. Now you go into 13, and it tightens all the time. At that point, you then go down out of 14. There he's out of 14. 15 and then 16 they follow. I'm quite good at my numbers, aren't I? I can add them in an order, but here we go. And then you can't see the start-finish straight. 16, wait. Now you can see it, as so many drivers over the years get pinged on that very corner. It's natural to run wide, and you have to really keep it in check. Very short pit straight. In fact, I can't think of many circuits with a shorter pit straight. Brands Hatch, perhaps, but Mondello Park, I'm throwing them in here. But certainly, it's a very unusual circuit. Some fabulous fast-flowing corners. And Nick Stati giving chase, but he's just under 10 seconds down on the race leader. Charles Leong stroking it home. We've got just over a minute remains, so this should be the penultimate lap, I would suggest. But it's been a very, very impressive run from young 17-year-old Australian Nick Stati. Started on pole, didn't get away well, ended up in fourth, and just starting to get a feel. He took an 11th and an 8th at Sepang. And he wouldn't have expected he'd springboard so quickly at the front, but clearly liking the circuit, or liking the performance of the car, just getting used to the performance of the car, the tyres. But right now, all eyes should be on Charles Leong, SGM Theodore Racing, car 232. There he is, the metallic dark red and white livery, very smart indeed. And 10-second lead going on to the final lap should have been enough, but hold on, we've got 25 seconds remaining, so he's going to get through down the start-finish straight to start one further lap. He could have backed it off. He had almost 10 seconds in hand, but it wouldn't have quite been enough, I don't think, for him to slow down and get the checkered flag this lap. No, the checkered flag will be held. On to the final lap we go with 10 seconds remaining. 50-minute duration for each of the races. So for the final time, at full racing pace, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, very, very tight. This is turn 3, Variante Paco, going past Superchai Weiraborwanpong, who is leading the Lamborghini Cup class, as he has done so many times, already got the title in the bag. Likewise, Charles Leong has already got the overall title, the pro title in the bag, sharing with Alex Denning. Alex will be looking on with great pleasure from the sidelines. Championship 1 already theirs for 2025, but another win, that will mean they will have won at least one of the races at all 6 rounds of the championship, and that is the firmest of bedrocks on which to build your season. So the team's done a great job. The drivers have learned a huge amount as they've gone forward through the course of the season.
Yeah, certainly they've clearly built a really strong partnership, working together, working with the team. You know, the relationship between the drivers as a pairing with their engineer, with the mechanics is so important. If you can really build that strong relationship where when you're serious, you know, you're serious, but you can have a laugh when you're, you know, when it's sort of downtime, you know, race weekends just, you know, it's just like going and having fun with your mates, and that's what you want. And that sounds like the sort of relationship they've all built together.
It does. I mean, you know, the best driver lineup you can have is not a really quick guy, an averagely quick guy. If you can have two guys who are very, very equal, they use the car in a similar way, and these have 16 turns the lap, completed, start-finish line, race completed, 50 minutes of racing, and their 7th win of the 2025 Super Trofeo Asia Series in the bag. They're already champions. They've stretched their margin. Nick Stati will be coming across in the background, car number 277, the second of those two cars from Bundang, Lamborghini Bundang by Racecraft. So in the end, it was a 9.3 second margin for SJM Theodore Racing. Job done, handshakes all round. Jacob Riegel did come home in 3rd place, the car he shared with Ethan Brown. That will also help Ethan's overall championship challenge. Oh, hold on, a penalty's just been issued. And in fact, Chris van der Drift has just moved into 3rd place overall. That's interesting. 298, and he's running in the Pro-Am class, so he'll take victory in Pro-Am. But Charles Leong, Alex Denning, job done. The job was really done by the first corner, and by the end of about lap 3, the margin was around 4.5 seconds. Eked out. Alex Denning completely controlled it after that, got to just under 10 seconds clear, and that was the margin he held as that wonderful battle for 2nd place. Ethan Young and Nick Stati raged behind him. That would have helped him, but he had it under control, handed over to Charles. Charles Leong did a fantastic job to come through. But a name for the future is the driver of this car, 277, Nick Stati, 17-year-old driver from Western Australia. He's really made a mark. Be interested to see if he comes back next season and takes a tilt at the overall championship. But 2nd place for him today, and he will have learnt a lot. He's also learnt where the entry to the pit lane is, and will be coming in. But it's an interesting start, a grassy start, but in a good way for Alex Denning. And that really was the bedrock of all that followed.
Yeah.
Just to go through the classes, if I may. Chris van der Drift taking victory in Pro-Am car 298. That's VSR. And the Lee brothers, 276, they won the AM class in 11th place overall from Sutiluk Buncharoen and Deepo Fitramadran, who we saw go off and couldn't get going for a while. He ended up 3rd in class, and as he had pretty much through the race, Superchai Wiraborn Wanpong winning Lamborghini Cup from Sang-Ho Kim at the end, and Chi Min Ma overall. But the race belonged to the drivers of 232, Charles Leong, who finished, and Alex Denning, who started. And for their rivals, they'll be looking tomorrow and thinking, what can we do in the final race of the Asian Series to topple them?
Yeah, certainly. I think, you know, Nick Stati knows that the start let him down, so I'm sure he will learn from that and be ready to be a little bit more aggressive at the start tomorrow. I think he did just get caught napping at the start there, which was unfortunate for him because it essentially cost him the race. I feel pace-wise he might have been able to match them, so sets us up for a nice race tomorrow. Obviously gutted to not have Johnny Giacotto there in the first stint. I feel he could have certainly been involved and mixed things up a little bit. But that is motorsport, unfortunately. Mechanicals are part of the game, and sometimes it can take you out before you even get started.
Yeah, a real shame for Jonathan Giacotto and Gavin Huang, but today it was Charles Leong and Alex Denning that got the job done the best. And there's the first place Hankook winner's cap already on Alex Denning's head. If the cap wears it, doesn't quite fit yet, but it will in the fullness of time. David Kennedy, sort of mastermind of all that, deeply involved with everything that moves down at SJM Theodore Racing, so he's there, and it's a very wise head to have there to advise the drivers at all. It's not just the on-track stuff. That's relatively easy in the overall picture. I'm not underplaying the role of a driver, but there are so many other elements, and it's great if you have a team that just takes care of all of that.
Yeah, certainly. The team is so important. Quite literally, you can't do it without the team.
Right, Chris Van. Oh, well, let's go down because driver's out of car. Let's join Dakota.
His full lead. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a great race for us overall with the pace, and yeah, it's more of a learning and collecting data for us at the moment still. For me, I mean, we already win the championship, so of course winning the race is good, but I think I want to for me, I want to focus more on the World Final, and we can win that one.
A little bit of a team discretion. Obviously, Alex, you're so super happy. You need to boost his ego up.
No, Charles, we both get things done in a different way, but mega job by Charles to maintain the lead the whole way through the race, and I am over the moon to take the first race win of the week, hopefully of many.
And obviously it's good learning for the World Finals ahead. You have won this championship, but you still got World Finals to go. You feeling confident?
Yeah, definitely. All of our running this weekend has been disturbed. We've had ABS issues, a couple of other mechanical issues, lots of traffic in qualifying. So this is the first session that's all came together. So a huge thank you to all the team and to all of my wonderful sponsors for getting us here.
Come on, Charles, you won this one. Tomorrow's going to be a breeze.
First of many, hopefully.
There you go, Dakota pouncing on Charles Leong and Alex Denning, and good to see their flags, and that Macanese flag and the Irish flag being offered to them by David Kennedy. We were talking about the attention to detail. He knows what comes after the interviews. It's getting up on that podium here at Misano. This is the first of many races as we go through the championships. We're working on the Asian series this morning. The North American series will be following, and then the European series. Their penultimate races are this, the final round. Then Saturday and Sunday here at Misano, we go to the World Finals. But there is the race-winning car, 232 SJM Theodore Racing, in the sunshine here at Misano. Not a bad place to be, I'd venture, here in November.
Certainly not. There's worse places and worse tracks around the world you could be at this time of year. To get this sort of sunshine and weather, is incredible in November.
No, it really is. So that was race one of two. You have two races each round of the championship. And going through the classes. Again, lovely to see all that enthusiasm. And if you've got a white cap on your head, that means you're heading for the podium. But let's head back to join Dakota with Nick Stati, one of the stars of the race.
Nick, absolutely a star of the race. I mean, that was a really, really good performance from you. Happy with that?
Yeah, extremely happy. First win in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, so I can't be more happy.
I mean, what's there to improve tomorrow?
I don't know, but hopefully go for the win.
What did you learn from today? Obviously, this has been a very cold race for you, so tyres have been a little bit of a struggle. Were you struggling there with tyres?
Not really because of the cold conditions, but at the beginning, yeah, sure, getting temperature in them was challenging. But yeah, the people in P1 did a great race.
Let's go up to the podium and see that beautiful trophy you've earned. Thank you very much, Nick. Good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you. And just to point out his enthusiasm there, he meant his first podium finish there, second place, but he's going for a win tomorrow, and certainly you can almost sense he's dead serious about that.
Yeah, definitely. Seems quietly confident. Obviously happy with the job he's done today. He deep down he knows the start probably let him down, so he can now go analyse the race with his engineers and make a plan to come back tomorrow stronger.
Yeah, so we've got the 4 podium ceremonies coming up because, as mentioned, we've got the Pro Podium, we've got the Pro-Am, the Am, and the Lamborghini Cup. And hopefully we'll find time for some highlights as well. Always takes a while to herd they talk about herding cats. It's a bit like that, getting drivers up onto a podium, because as you could see down there, the enthusiasm bubbling out as people were given the caps. That meant they'd won their classes. But they've all got to focus on not just tomorrow's final race, the final round. Let's take a look at the final classification of that race. No doubting Charles Leong and Alex Denning clear in the end by 9.3 seconds from Nick Stati, the 17-year-old Australian, really making a mark in his second outing in this championship. Todd Kingsford and Chris van der Grift came through right at the end to take third place, final place on the overall podium, but victory in the Pro-Am class from Ethan Brown and Jacob Riegel. A couple of penalties cost those, and just going down through the classes, 10th place overall, it was the Lees that took victory in car 276 and 271 there, you can see in 15th place overall, winning the Lamborghini Cup class by some margin there. Super Chai Weeraborn Mompong really has that championship element under control. He's consistent, and that's also key. So unfortunately, the last name we see there didn't get to start the race. Gavin Huang on the sidelines. Jonathan Chicotto pulled over with a broken drive shaft, we understand, on the first of 2 formation laps. Here, bearing in mind he was starting on second on the grid. That was a true disaster for him and his teammate. So let's take a look at some beautiful super slow-mos and again the sun glinting off their flanks. 21 cars came out to play in the penultimate race of the final round of the Super Trofeo Asia, and certainly some astonishingly good performances at the front end of the field. But again, it's November, it's the Misano circuit, 16 turns, and it provided plenty of action even before we got to the first corner, with the eventual race winner taking to the grass and moving through. But some fantastic race liveries across the 4 classes. Arrows Racing standing out with its aquamarine livery there. And again, it's building towards the World Finals here on Saturday and Sunday. The drawing together of the best of the Asian, North American and European series. They still haven't finished all those series. Already we know some of the title winners, though. But certainly plenty of enthusiasm. You could hear the screams in the background. I would suggest drivers and fans and teams assembling beneath the podium. This truly cosmopolitan pit field. They put on a great run, but the glory went to an Irish driver and a driver from Macau. That's Alex Denning and Charles Leong for SGM Theodore Racing. They got the job done from the run to the first corner, and they pulled clear from there. You can ask no more of them.
No, perfect job today. I like that pairing. It's quite funny how they're almost totally opposite in their mannerisms and their character, but you know, they get the job done. They clearly work well together in the car, and yeah, you can't really ask for more than that, especially the fact they didn't even start on pole. They had a cracking start, a little bit of grass, a nice little mention back to Lamborghini's history of the tractors, and yeah, got the job done.
Certainly did. And I mean, the full story of Lamborghini was that the man himself was frustrated with Ferrari, and he was making his tractors. Thought, you know what? I'm going to build a car to beat all your cars. That was 1963, and the rest is history. And drivers being called out onto the podium. This is the pro podium. Third place for Ethan Brown and Jacob Briegel. Time penalty for them cost them also a penalty. Further time penalty for another 2 seconds added to their overall time. But coming up, proud parent moment there. Nick Stati, you might have heard him for the first time at Sepang. This is his second outing. He put it on pole. He finished second. He will have learnt an awful lot. He got some big racing in with Ethan Brown, the short of the two drivers on the right, over second place the first half of the race. But let's hear for Charles Leong and Alex Denning onto the top step of the podium. Already champions, but they've added another win. That's win number 7. They've won at every single round of the championship. You can ask no more than that.
I'm going to stay. The trophies are so good in Super Trofeo.
I was just going to say, they're really handsome, aren't they? And also, they're not overly large. You know, that problem you used to have, Jack, when you're going home and you couldn't fit them in the overhead locker on the plane. You had so many, you know.
Exactly. I now have many of them in my house, and they make great ornaments all over the place.
Is that for people you don't tell that you're a racing driver or were a racing driver? I suppose you've got to leave space for all the cycling podium trophies you'll be winning now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, space for bikes.
Space for bikes, there we have. But up on the top step, SGM Theodore Racing absolutely got the job done. Other drivers joining them up there. And well, who knows how the order is going to be shuffled when we get to tomorrow's race. It should be the 12th and final race of the 2025 Super Trofeo Asia. I'm just double checking what time that race will be. Will the track conditions be different? Yes, they will. That'll be in the afternoon, 3:30 in the afternoon, so it'll be much, much warmer. So whatever the drivers have learned today, they'll have to learn something else for tomorrow, but the teams have to help them with that. They've had plenty of practice times and qualifying times across all time points in the day, and the weather here has been fantastically equal for the past handful of days, looking set for the weekend. But for SGM Theodore Racing, for Charles Leong and Alex Denning, it's bubbly time.
Notice that they're not all spraying each other because there's still a lot of driving, and they probably only have one or maybe a spare suit, but as they need to probably use that same suit again tomorrow, they're choosing not to get covered in champagne.
Yeah, Ma and Pa Denning delighted their son was the one who remained on the podium to spray the bubbly, but you're quite right. Just run through 2-3-2. SGM Theodore Racing got the job done, and here we are, already champions and even further clear now. Alex Denning and Charles Leong, handsomely the champions in the pro class, the overall class for Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia. Misano, just another circuit to put a tick in the box. They've done it already, one more race to come, and as I said, that's tomorrow afternoon. Later in the day, track temperature will be higher, but it doesn't matter what circuit they go to, they've proved a winning combination. What a fantastic 2025 season they've had. So now the drivers coming out onto the podium for Pro-Am. Kang Ling, Jibai Lu, their third, 263. That was Jeton Lang Jiatong and Brian Lee. and then we'll be expecting Chris van der Drift to come out from VS Racing and Todd Kingsford up. There they are on the top step. So they too get the very, very handsome trophies. And just hearing, you can almost hear the smiles on Chris van der Drift's face. He's on the left-hand side of the top step, taller figure of Todd Kingsford alongside. These are the winners in Pro-Am and eventually third place overall. So that was a fantastic run for the pair of them. And just remember, we had that moment just after Chris van der Drift went through when Deepo Fitramadan suddenly panicked, or maybe put the power down too soon out of turn 14, and found the consequences and ended up on the grass. It dropped him a position in the AM class, but no problems at all for Chris van der Drift as he built on the work of Todd Kingsford. There they are on the top step of the podium for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. Not everybody's listening to the photographer. Pick up your trophies. Anyhow, some high, some low, but this is a Pro-Am podium. And Chris van der Drift and Todd Kingsford staying on top. Certainly the crew in third place decided, yeah, we will listen to Jack Bartholomew and keep our overalls good for another day.
These guys clearly have access to washing facilities.
Yeah, it's all down to the planning. Great to hear just the happiness there. But what a great run. And this was the crew that came through to win Pro-Am today. They're not going to feature in the overall championship because that's already, you know, very much in the hands of others who scored better early in the season. That's why Kikan Kao and Kaishun Liu still on top. But look how close it is. Brian Lee, we saw him cede a position on track today, but it's moved him to within 5 points of the top, along with his teammate Jiatong Liang, who missed a race earlier in the year. That's why he's down in third overall. But that one is definitely going to the finale tomorrow. Maybe the bus driver from Korea, only during his national service, can take a tip at the title. Certainly scored more than the class leaders in the first of the 2 races for the Asian Series here at Misano. And now it's time for the AM podium. The crew from 286 coming up, which is Delta Garage Racing by Absolute, Umar Abdullah and Deepo Fitra Maharan. Second place, it's 278, it's Sutiluk Buncharoen, but up onto the top step, it's car number 276, it's Donghui Li and Dongsheng Li. Here they come, up onto the top step for Climax Racing, the Chinese team.
All'equipaggio del team Delta Garage Racing Absolute, ovvero a Umar Abdullah e a Deepo Fitramadan.
So again, these Sutilek Buncharan, he must have so many Super Trofeo trophies. He's been racing for quite a while with huge success. So the Thai driver on the left-hand side of the podium there. And there's trophy to all those up on the top step. The team get a trophy as well from Hankook.
So we are ready to get all together with the trophies on the main step of the podium, please. Getting closer, more close, please.
So there we are. I shall hand over the commentary to the lead photographer, the master of ceremonies on the podium there. The drivers, they sometimes forget the routine on the podium. It can change, but basically you get your trophies, you get your cheers, the photographer moves in, and then, of course, it's champagne time, if you choose. And I think a few will and a few won't. But anyhow, so it's a long meeting here. 4 days of racing, 2 days for the final 2 races of the final round of each of the global championships from Asia, North America and Europe. But the AM class today won really very comfortably in the end by 276. Climax Racing, Donghui Li and Dongsheng Li. And that has helped them. But Sutiluk Buncharoen's second place today, he is now champion. He cannot be toppled. 18 points is his margin over the Zyril O brothers, and there are only 16 points to play for. By my maths, well done. Title in his bag. No wonder he was smiling so handsomely up on the podium there. Second place today, that's all you need.
Certainly. It means he can now go into tomorrow and just enjoy the race.
Absolutely right. Lamborghini Cup class, and Dr. Chi Min Ma, he looks happy. Second place, it's the crew from the 217. That's Lamborghini Bundang by Racecraft, Eng Peng Go and Kim Sang-ho add on to the top step, all on his own. Superchai Weeraboormonpong. He's been there many, many times. Already has this title in the bag for 2025. There he is, Superchai.
E ora loro, la vittoria che è tutta per il thailandese Superchai Weeraboormonpong. Bel applauso.
So, lots of applause there. Superchai enjoying his moment yet again.
Arriva il team manager della scuderia Siam Gas Corse che conquista con Weeraboormonpong.
And so again, Hankook Motorsport awarding a trophy to the winning team as well. Team manager up there as well. But today, that was Siam Corsa winning again.
Looking in front of you for the pictures. Okay, in front of you first of all.
And for all the drivers competing over the 4 days here, they have to remember it's not a 2-day meeting or 2 days of racing. It's really, really intense, and you do start to sense they sort of build towards the World Finals come Saturday and Sunday. Champagne, optional up there. Drivers will go away. They've got to do it over again for the 12th and final round of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia. That will be tomorrow afternoon, around 3:30 in the afternoon. And then they've got to consider life and come back for the World Finals on Saturday and Sunday. It's a long meeting for a lot of these drivers, particularly from the Asian Series. It's about learning how you can compete on a cooler circuit. And here, Superchai Weeraboormonpong, there it is, the longest name in motor racing, and he's done it yet again. Already the champion, and he's stretched his margin, and there he is. So in fact, in the case of the AM class and the Lamborghini Cup, both going to drivers from Thailand, but Superchai, he's been doing this a while. He's very, very good in his class. Eng Peng Go sitting there in third place. Kuma Prabhakaran didn't have his best race, but he's still second in the title battle. But there we are. Let's take a look back after all those podiums and what actually happened. We had 50 minutes of racing, and we're about to treat you with the highlights, and it all really kicked off from before we even got to the first turn of the race. Round one, we already lost Jonathan Chikotto. His car broke the drive shaft on the formation lap. And look, third place became, in the blink of an eye, the lead for the driver on the grass, Alex Denning. Nick Stati, the 17-year-old Australian, being a bit monstered there, passed on the outside and too much on the outside from Ethan Brown. He came back on the track. He knew he was going to get a penalty or had to cede the position, but Alex Denning didn't wait for an answer. He put his car right-hand side of the image there into the lead of the race to remove all doubts. There was a bit of pushing and shoving in behind. We had a couple of spinners and a few penalties were issued. It was 251 who got it wrong, and that was Brian Huang down towards the back. And unfortunately, for a driver ahead, Zhu Bizhuang, he was the one removed. But then the battle of the race was really in the first half between these two, Ethan Brown in 227, and being chased very, very hard indeed by Nick Stati. Fantastic battle for fourth place raged behind them as well. That was the battle for Pro-Am honours. But all the time, our race leader, Alex Denning, was stretching his margin. Got it to 8.5 seconds, backed it off. And for the others, if you're driving solo like some of the drivers, you had to have an extra 3 seconds in the pit stops. That affected things. And then it was the resettling of the order once the pit stops were complete. Nobody could touch Charles Leong. He had that great margin. There was a moment when Nick Stati started to close in second place. Ethan Regal started to challenge in 227, but that car had a further time penalty, and that would eventually drop them down the order just a little bit. There, unfortunately, was Deepo Fitramadan just getting a little bit too much power down too soon. But at the end of the race, there's the checkered flag, and there's the race winner. Charles Leong sharing with Alex Denning. Job done for SJM Theodore Racing. Another win in the bag. Already champions overall, but they did it yet again. Second place went to Nick Stati, young Australian. Really, really impressing. There is the winning car, cruising back in. A lot of pride for the young drivers going up on the podium as well. But there really was, from first to last, Charles Leong and Alex Denning loving life up on the top step. And that is the end of the first race of the Asian Series. Join us for the second one of those tomorrow at 3:30 in the afternoon. We'll be coming back shortly for the North American Championship. 2 minutes, right, okay.